Hi everyone! Welcome to Souped Up Recipes. I'm Mandy. Today we are making a special pan-fried steamed bun. We call it Shui Jian bao. Shui Jian is a cooking method that you put oil and water to the frying pan. The water will evaporate first, which creates lots of steam and makes the bun nice and fluffy. Once the water is all gone, the oil will be left behind and it will start the pan frying, so you will get a steamed bun that is nice and fluffy and the bottom is golden and crispy at the same time. Sounds incredible, right? Let's get started by making the filling first. I've got here 250 grams of ground beef. The fat ratio is 10%. You can also change to ground pork or chicken if you want. Season it with 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, half tablespoon of dark soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of ginger, half teaspoon of 5 spice powder, half teaspoon of white pepper, half teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorn powder. This is what I'm using. I just roast it in a wok over low heat for a minute or two and blend it into a powder. It is optional, but I love the citrusy aroma and the numbing effect it provides. Drizzle some sesame oil and mix until the flavor is well combined. Then we will stir in a third cup of beef stock. This will make the filling extra juicy. Make sure you stir this within one direction to develop the texture. Okay, let's set this aside. We're going to add an ingredient to make the filling special. Bring a pot of water to a boil. Turn off the heat and drop in some sweet potato starch noodles. Let them soak for 4 to 5 minutes. You can also use mung bean noodles, but you have to soak them for just 1 minute because mung bean noodles are so thin. Take it out and shake off the excess water. Roughly dice them. I know it sounds strange because the wrapper is going to be made with carbs, and we're putting more carbs in the filling. Ground beef with sweet potato starch noodles is a classic filling in Henan province. This is what I'm using. Its bouncy and slippery texture pairs really well with the lean beef. If you want to skip the noodles, make sure you change the fat ratio to 17%. So you get a better result. Continue by adding half cup of diced scallion, half cup of diced cilantro. If you don't eat cilantro, you can use fennel or celery. Mix well. Set this in the fridge while we are making the wrapper. Here is 160 grams of room temperature water. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and half teaspoon of instant yeast. Stir this really well. Then drizzle in about 1 tablespoon of oil. Mix again and slowly pour the mixture into 300 grams of all-purpose flour in batches. Stir it with a pair of chopsticks at the same time. Go in with your hands and gather all the flour together until a rough dough forms. Don't forget to scrape the bottom and the edge of the bowl so you don't waste anything. Let it rest for about 10 minutes to relax the gluten. Then the dough will be softer and easier to work with. I simplified this recipe by using one-time proof method, which requires you to knead it really well at this point because there's no deflating process later. Trust me, it is not difficult. Just put some effort in for about 5 minutes and your dough will be really smooth and beautiful. After all that kneading, the gluten is very intense. If you roll the dough now, it will bounce back against you. Let it rest for another 10 minutes and it will be much easier to work with. Poke a hole in the middle to create a donut. Enlarge the hole. Cut it open and you will have a long log. Roll it even. This recipe is enough to make 12 buns, so we're going to divide it into 12 even pieces. Each one should be around 38 grams. Dust some flour so they don't stick to each other. Cover them to prevent them from drying out. Take the filling out of the fridge and we're going to wrap the buns. Dust one piece of the dough with some flour to prevent stickiness. Use a rolling pin to roll it flat. Once you get it into 3 inches in diameter, lift the sheet and roll the edge to make it thinner. That way, you can have a wrapper with a thicker middle and a thinner edge. The size of the wrapper should be about 4.5 inches in diameter. Put about 3 tablespoons of the filling on the wrapper. Pack it tight. The right hand lifts and pinches the edge of the wrapper. The left hand helps to push to fill the plate. Just do that all the way around. When you get to the end, twist and pinch to close it. Let them proof for 50 minutes. Cover with a plastic wrap so they don't get dry. 50 minutes later, the buns should be a little bit bigger, but it is not too soft. If you touch the skin, you'll feel a slight dance. We don't want them to be fully proofed, otherwise the skin will be too fluffy and it will turn out soggy after cooking in the water. Drizzle some cooking oil in the frying pan, just enough to cover the bottom. Turn the heat to medium. Don't need to wait for the oil to get hot. Just place the buns in one by one. Leave some space between them because you want enough room to form the crust. Once you hear the sizzling, you can quickly mix 2½ teaspoons of cornstarch and a 1/3 cup of water. Pour it into the frying pan. Put on the lid and let it cook for about 8 minutes. During this time, it is best to move the frying pan to arrange the heat because my stove heat is uneven. Also, my lid doesn't really match this frying pan, so it doesn't seal completely. That is on purpose to allow the steam to escape. If your lid seals well, you will have to leave a small gap. Now all the water is almost gone. You can see the cornstarch has formed into a beautiful crust at the bottom. Gently shake the pan and see if the buns will release themselves. If not, just wait for 10 to 20 more seconds. Try again. As soon as the buns can release themselves from the frying pan, turn off the heat. Even though the cornstarch crust is not golden brown, but the bottom of the buns is perfectly done. If you waited until the cornstarch becomes golden brown, the buns will be burned at the bottom. We call this 裙边, which means skirt. Looks quite like a white dress around the buns. So pretty. Look at the juice that is bursting out of the bun. Don't tell me that you are not drooling. Let me open one. Even though it has been sitting for a while because we have to shoot the video and take the thumbnail, the bun is still very fluffy. Take a bite. The crust is still there. You'll be surprised by the noodles. It absorbed so much flavor from the beef. So delicious. I just can't get enough of it. I hope you give this a try soon. As always, you can click the link in the description and find the printable recipe. Thank you for watching.